Hey there, I'm Ivyman1992, and today I'm going to be teaching you about the basics of how to create item effects for PvP as well as classes. It's by no means a complete list, but it'll give you a good baseboard to jump off into cool ideas yourself. For example, one of my lovely fans, King of Gotham 408, wanted me to give regeneration effect when you ate bread, like this. As you can see, I have regeneration now for 5 seconds. Or let's suppose you want specific players to gain new hearts when they wear a particular item, like this Iron Heart helmet. Easy. Suddenly I gained 6 hearts. Pretty cool, right? So grab your command block and let's hop into the tutorial. So before we jump into something more advanced like classes, let's actually figure out how the Iron Heart helmet works. It just involves an execute command dealing with tags. So if we start out on our command, it says execute as @closest player. This could be changed to anything. You can change it to yourself, particular kind of player, or an entity. But the trick is, you have to actually have a condition with your target. In this case, having the open bracket has item equals, we're going to choose a location on our player. In this case, we chose our armor slot for the head. And it's right there, we can put Iron Helmet. But you notice it's only a 3-block chain. The second block in the chain is another execute command. In this case, we're looking for the player that just got the heart tag. And unless that player has a secondary tag called full, we're going to run the health boost effect. So that's how we got the extra hearts. And the third and final block in the chain just adds our full tag. In many cases, it's not necessary to have 2 tags. You can just do it with 1. But I didn't want infinite amount of hearts constantly being added to the player, so that's why we had the full tag, so it can't be run more than once. Put simply, we're just using an execute command to apply tags, and we can actually put those tags on a player via certain conditions. And of course, like this healing bread here, it can be as difficult as you like it to be. This is actually a little bit more challenging item to make with the regeneration effect, but let's walk through it together. So with our regenerating healing bread, we're actually using a system of 4 command blocks here. The first is again another execute command, except this time we're looking for a particular entity, which is the player. Now if the player has an item called bread, which is just basic Minecraft bread, and a data value of 77 in the hotbar, and he doesn't have it in the inventory, then we're going to give him a healing tag. Now this is very important for consumable items, especially with bread. So this execute command is actually very important, and that's why we're testing for the inventory as well as into the hotbar, because like a player versus player item, we want it to take effect in the middle of combat and battle. And we don't want the players to actually store the bread more than just 1 in their little hotbar down here, right? So it's a little bit tricky, but follow along. It is worth noting that I don't think that the data 77 is really necessary, or that it even works. I'm still experimenting with it, but we put it just in case to try to make a unique item. It could have no effect at all, so more experimentation to come. For our next command block, we actually have another repeating command block. And this one is interesting because we're executing the opposite. So unless the player has the item bread in the hotbar, and unless it's in the inventory, and if the player has the healing tag, we're going to run the regeneration effect. What this is actually saying is that as long as I don't have this particular kind of bread in my inventory or my hotbar, then it's going to give me the regeneration effect. So in other words, I'm looking at my inventory and I just have the bread, right? So if I were to just throw this onto the ground right now, you can see that I have the regeneration effect, right? And I killed the bread, obviously, so it gets rid of it, which is where the next command comes in. There we go, we kill all entities named healing bread, so that's why we named our bread a specific name, just to make it more PvP-like and unique. So it's a little bit unique in terms of how it works around, but it's necessary because we don't want to toss the bread repeatedly onto the ground to get regeneration. So if you eat it, it does the same thing because it basically is saying, yeah, I don't have any bread in my inventory or hotbar left. So yep, this is pretty good. So the middle command block actually detects whether or not we have bread in our inventory or hotbar. The chain command that actually links onto it is very important, because whenever it gives us the regeneration effect, we don't want the player to have an infinite amount of regeneration, so this execute command triggers. Unless that player has bread in the hotbar inventory, we're going to actually remove the healing tag from them. So in other words, we're starting over. They no longer have healing. So we make a loop, and the only way to get it back is to actually have the bread. Or is it? Now we get into classes and class abilities. So imagine, for example, that we go ahead and eat our bread, and it doesn't digest in our stomach. Instead, every 15 seconds or so, it gives us regeneration again without having to eat the bread. Pretty cool, right? So what I've done here is actually make a simple class system. One for the healer class, so we can see that we have it here. And another for a fighter class, which adds two separate different kinds of abilities. For the fighter class, we're calling our ability Looping Warrior. Basically, the player is going to have strength for 15 seconds, and then it's going to be following up with weakness for 10 seconds. It's going to constantly go back and forth. If we choose our healer class, then we get infinite meal. In other words, our healing bread, upon being eaten or tossed onto the ground, will give us regeneration every 15 seconds for 5 seconds. In other words, the bread just doesn't decide to digest in the stomach, it's constantly reforming. And the whole idea behind these classes and class abilities is to make a unique gameplay mechanic to you in your realm or your server, whatever you like to play, or even in single player if you want to get creative and just get abilities for yourself. So I wanted to challenge you to actually be able to make your own classes, and I'm going to give you a rundown of basically how mine works and what you can do for it. So first things first, let's go ahead and reset our classes, right? So we're setting objectives, fighter and healing, to 0 for myself. If you don't know how to create objectives, this is the command. It's basically a scoreboard command where it says objectives add fighter dummy. So this is saying that we're creating a fighter objective. And of course we also have one for healing. This is how we can get our classes and class abilities up and functioning. Now when we press our healing button, it starts a chain of commands. So for the first execute command in our healing class ability, basically it's making sure the player does not have the healer tag and he does not have the fighter tag. If both of those are missing, then we're going to give him the healer tag, right? Because we want to make a difference. You can't be a healer and a fighter together, at least in my class system. Now if that is true, for the second command block, it's just a chain and conditional, because we want to make sure it's true. So we really just gave our player the healer tag, right? So we're targeting that player who has the healer tag, and we're going to say that the healer class is chosen. So it basically sends a command like right over here, where the camera instruction is. It basically says that Ivyman 1992 has chosen the healer class. So not necessary, but good for a good visual. So the third command is actually the main part of the system, and it's a repeating block. You can turn it on and off if you want to, or just leave it constantly running, but it helps with lag anyway if you can trigger it on and off. So basically all it is doing is it's looking for a player that has the tag healer, right? So as long as that player doesn't have bread in their hotbar or their inventory, we're going to add to their scoreboard a count of 1 for healing. So to give you a good idea anyway, we can actually visualize this by using the scoreboard objective set display command, and we're basically going to put our healing onto the sidebar. So you can see right now on the side of the screen I have 0. So this will actually cause it to count up by 1. Our next command block is a chain command. Basically it's saying for the player that has the healing tag or healer tag, as long as their scoreboard matches 15, they get their regeneration effect for 5 seconds. And the last chain command block there, it's the same way with the execute command again, targeting the healer. So unless they have bread in the inventory and hotbar, and if their score matches 15, so we're going to run through the whole cycle, we're basically going to set them back to 0, creating the loop. So let's go ahead and press the button. There we go. So Ivyman 1992 has chosen healer class. Now I can eat the bread or I can throw the bread. So in this case I'm going to throw the bread, but watch my score. So let's check the bread. There we go. You see my score is going up. Once it hits 15, it should reset back down to 0. There we go. So you can see now I got regeneration again. And this creates our infinite meal ability, right? So imagine that we don't have all the command stuff on the corner there. And you're in PvP. And suddenly the player that you're battling has regeneration every, 15 seconds or so? For 5 seconds? That's a pretty cool ability. But that's why the fighting ability comes in. It helps negate this. Okay, so we turned everything off for the healing bread, and we set our fighter objective right there on the side now, so that we can see how its ability works. But really, this is kind of cool, isn't it? I know that we went through the command pretty quick, but you're welcome to pause the video or head back and take a look at them. Mostly, this is just an inspiration booster for you, right? So you can see what may or may not be possible with command blocks, and really how to create your own cool systems and classes, or even abilities like I did. So let's hop into the fighter aspect of it as well. We can see it just has one more command block, that's all. For our first command, we're actually targeting a player that does not have the healer tag and does not have the fighter tag already. So we're going to add the fighter tag to them. Now our chain command is conditional, which means if we add the fighter tag, we're going to say the same thing. Run in the chat bar up there. Ivyman 1992 is chosen fighter class. And we have another repeating command block that is running currently. Basically, for every player that has the fighter tag, they're going to add 1 to their scoreboard. Same way we did with the healing one. Followed by a conditional chain block. So we're looking for the player that has the fighter tag, right? So if the score, or the objective score rather, matches 1, we're going to give that player strength for 15 seconds. The next chain block. Oops. I just broke my chain block. Let's think about this for a moment. Yep, when you're playing mobile, you lag pretty quickly. I think I have the right command block. Haven't tested it, but we're winging it. So basically it's similar to the last one. As long as our fighter objective matches 17 now, we're going to run the effect to give ourselves weakness for 10 seconds. I don't remember if I chose 17 or 18, but we're going to play with it and see what happens. The last chain command there. So if our score matches 25, basically we're going to set it back down to 0, right? So we're going to resetting the loop. So we gave ourselves fighter command. Alright, we're going to see. So we have strength. Should run out here at about 15. Okay, let's see. Okay, weakness came in there. Now let's see if weakness runs out before it reaches 25. Okay, so we can see that for a split second we had strength and weakness together. So we should change that. Alright, so we're going to be running up here. So once it gets to 15, strength should wear off, and then the following second should create weakness. Okay, so not quite. But it did match up pretty well, so... You know what? It's not perfect, and it's got a kink I gotta work out there. Wish I hadn't broken that command block, but you know what? It happens. So, this video has really been about exploration and inspiration, right? So, how could we create item effects through commands? Between you and me, I need to lose a little bit of weight now because my bread didn't digest. And I kept regenerating health every 15 seconds, which can be pretty annoying in PvP. Unless you're the one that ate the bread. Then yeah, you're a happy camper. So now I challenge you. Go ahead, experiment with item abilities and classes. See what you can come up with, and if you have a cool idea for them, put them down in the comments. I always read and I always respond to them, so I truly hope you learned how to do some cool stuff and maybe can apply it in your own realms or servers or worlds. So, till next time, take care now. Bye-bye.